I want to round out this by bringing up uh, one of the cases that we have talked about at length, and is, of course, Diddy and the sexual assault cases. Multiple victims coming forward ever since his former girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie, had her claims. This is your tweet. The litigation in the new federal sex assault lawsuit against Diddy will show in real time how long these lawsuits take. The first issue is that an accuser can proceed anonymously. This is kind of wild when I read it, because it's almost your name that gives weight to those claims. So how does this work when that victim, that defendant, is anonymous?
Yeah, and I think that's something that we'll definitely see in the briefing papers later, because when Diddy's lawyers actually file their opposition to this, I would expect them to, perhaps cite some examples and some case law that would support their idea that she shouldn't be allowed to proceed anonymously, because we do see those lawsuits filed under Jane Doe, and I think especially with the way the complaint is written and some of the photos that are included in that, I think it's very likely that Diddy's side has an idea of who this is, or knows who this is, but it's a bigger question of being held accountable in public, and being able to face your accuser like that in public, that they want to bring up. But I think if she was allowed to stay anonymous, of course, through the discovery process, they would have access to her identity and identifying information about her, but there would be some kind of gag order in place that would allow her to file documents anonymously under Jane Doe, and his side would be under a gag order not to release her identity. It's really the public revealing of her that they don't want, because it's such a high profile lawsuit, and they're worried about her facing harassment and just exposure through that.
I was going to say, even though she's filing anonymously as a Jane Doe, you did just say that through discovery, people can find out, at least those involved in this case, who this person is. It seems like a dangerous situation for this woman, especially coming forward against someone pretty powerful like Diddy.
Yeah, and that's the point that her lawyers made in the motion that they filed, that that she has many reasons to stay anonymous, and her safety, and then the integrity of the case moving forward, if they just all the publicity surrounding it. But it really is a safety thing, and wanting to protect her identity and the need for privacy there. But I think it's going to be really interesting to read Diddy's lawyer's opposition of this, because just based on the social media discussions that I've seen, people have split opinions about this, and I'm sure his attorneys are going to be able to find some case examples that support their side, and it's really the first big decision for the federal judge who's been assigned to this, who's actually a rookie federal judge, a Joe Biden appointee from just 2023. So she has plenty of experience in civil rights cases. Was in the civil rights department, did a lot of work in New York on police related cases and things like that. But this is a pretty high profile case for her, and this will be really the first big decision that we see. But the way the litigation process works, it won't be for a while. We're not looking at full briefing until the end of January, which means we might not have a hearing or a decision on this until March. But it gives us plenty of time to think about it.
Meghann, we have dissected three sexual assault cases, all seeming to be in different stages of those investigations, starting with Danny Masterson finally being moved to a state prison after being convicted of raping two women, now sentenced to 30 years to life. Then we have the ongoing litigation against Nicki Minaj's husband for sexual assault from back in the 90s, and then another accuser of Diddy wishing to remain anonymous. So as I mentioned, almost three different, time frames that we're looking at here, but very similar cases. We're glad to have you here to break it down. Meghann Cuniff, legal affairs journalist, always a pleasure, and we'll be speaking soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night.